Welcome to Agency for Agents, a podcast for real estate team leaders and independent brokerage owners looking to maximize profits, effectiveness, and gain freedom for their team and business. Your hosts, Christine Andreasen and Aaron Hendon, have been running one of the most successful real estate teams in the Seattle area for more than 8 years. They know building a winning team means finding ways to empower, nurture, train, and develop individual agents to discover their own power, their own agency. On the podcast, Christine and Aaron interview thought leaders in real estate and personal growth to help you impact both your performance and your teams. We know it takes a lot, and leaders and brokers that crack that code reap the rewards of success greater than any they could ever achieve on their own. So just to set up the context for this, we're starting a new, what is it, a program, a platform? A community.
It's humans walking each other home.
Excellent. It's called Balaram Das. It's it's called Repurposed. I love that we settled on the name so easily.
Yeah, it's how it is with us when we just, one accord. It's how it works.
Yeah, and I thought this
was harmony.
Because we're just sort of hashing out the pillars. That was the last question you asked. Chris, you're so good at asking the right questions, or the provocative question, or the question that, not the provocative question like Geraldo, but like the question that evokes the next space of something.
Thank you.
So let's go back to that conversation and talk about the purpose of the community and what we're really building, and then let's talk about the pillars thing.
Yeah. I mean, you want to start with the premise that we...
Yeah, let's start with the premise. Where are we at with what the purpose of this community is?
So I always ask the question, like, when blank happens, the world will change. That's the prompt for the premise. When blank happens, the world will change. And you could be in any industry or anything. And if you use that for yourself from your worldview, where you sit, the people you want to serve, if you could answer that, we're talking to real estate agents who we want to walk with real estate agents who are looking for how to take their life's work to another level, like beyond the real estate transaction. Mm-hmm. What else are we doing here with this life? We want to talk to real estate agents like that, like the ones that want to have that conversation. So when we did the premise prompt, what you sent back, which I in a full agreement with, is when agents realize or fulfill the difference they want to make, the world will change. When agents realize the difference they want to make, the world will change.
Yeah. And realize as in fulfill, not realize as in...
Yeah. As in like discover, right? Yeah,
right. But realize as in fulfill. And yes, I mean, when you're reading it back to me, it sounds a little grandiose, but I mean, that's the way a vision does show up. Like, it's bold, it's big. Do I really believe that? Do I really believe that the world will change? Like the war in Ukraine, like the polar ice caps melting,
I think that's the whole butterfly effect,
Right. So what are we talking about when we say the world will change? I do think, that's too big for me to get to own in that context. Like if I try and poke holes in it, that's where I would go.
Sure.
Like, oh, that's too big and we don't really mean that. And that's a good slogan. But when I answered it, it is for me, the world of real estate, the world of what we consider to be, the domain in which we play, the domain in which we, fend for our families. We engage with the community that we're talking about. That world changes, and then it does have a ripple effect. Then I can see the butterfly effect moving out. And there are definitely realtors that are, and there are people in all walks of life, but there are realtors that are actively engaged in equity issues. Super direct line between what we do and equity. I just got involved with domestic violence organization. So there's every kind of contribution that we make,
right?
That our people make, our people.
I think you could play that. I feel like you kind of worked it back this way. And if we went this way, we started with, let's say there was an agent who the difference they want to make is with domestic violence. And the premise, the prompt here is when agents fulfill the difference they want to make in domestic violence, the world they're out to changes. Like
that's great. That's exactly, that so nails it. Yeah, that's great to work it out that way. That's right. And that's the nature of this community. That's what we're out to build, is agents that want to have that conversation. And you don't, I don't, maybe you do, but I don't have an answer or like how that's supposed to look or even how it's going to work out.
Yeah.
I mean, right. We're just engaged in this with people that are interested in engaging in something other than how to add 350K more to your pipeline in 2 weeks without a cold calling. I mean,
right.
Although if we could do that, okay.
And I think the thing that makes it unique or specific to real estate is there are ways that agents show up and behave in their spheres of influence that aren't ways people outside of real estate show up to their spheres of influence. There's some unique nuance, I think, to the fact that real estate is in the background of this conversation because it's a community of real estate agents or people in the real estate space.
Say more about that. What do you mean by how we show up?
Well, I think there are certain ways that as real estate agents, we go about our profession. Mm-hmm. I say our, and I'm no longer a licensed agent, but I feel like I grew up in the industry. So, from doing pop buys to newsletters, to pie giveaways, to all the things we do to stay in contact with our communities that other people don't do. Other people don't do pie giveaways. Other people don't do pop buys. Other people don't write handwritten notes but so that's in the background. And what I sort of see from having a community put the difference I want to make in the foreground of the conversation is now when I'm doing pop buys, now when I'm doing pie giveaways, there's an opportunity to bring the difference I want to make into the conversation with my sphere and my community.
It's interesting. I think the only other time I've ever thought of that is when you brought it up. It's true. There are no other, nobody else pops by. No one else, sends cards, maybe insurance. Yeah, possibly, but not really. And not with the reliability that we do. Yeah. And it's true. I mean, the nature of our business, those of us that are in the business, it's, sort of requisite to be in touch that way because of the the rareness of the infrequency, I guess is the better term for that, of the conversation. Otherwise, we're simply not relevant to our clients. So finding that way. And so this is a double-edged opportunity, really. So not only are we engaging with people about something that matters to us, but we are developing our community as something larger than just your best gift is a referral of your friend. That's other than that conversation, it would be, let's build equity for all people, or let's end domestic violence, and let's become, there's agents of change. I know that's a great pun for what this is, but like that.
Yeah. Right. Exactly. Yeah. I love that. I think because so if we go back to I'm an agent who wants to make a difference with domestic violence. I want to make a dent in that. I want to be a part of that solution. And I'm doing a pie giveaway for my real estate business. There's different ways you can do that. One, I could say for every pie I'm giving away here, I'm giving one to, women who are currently in temporary housing for things, or it doesn't even have to be that. It could just be like a conversation piece that lets people know, like, hey, this is important to me. And all of a sudden, I think that champions the heart in others. Yes. Like when you bring it into the conversation, now others are interested.
That's right. There's very few people who are going to, you're going to bring that up. I mean, what's okay, that maybe, there are polarizing issues. Okay. So what's important to you is Black Lives Matter. All right. Well, that may filter out some of your business. If that were really that important to you, that you went that way, it was that important to me. It is that important to me that if I don't do business with someone who's got a thing about Black Lives Matter, I don't have to do business with everybody. I'm not interested in doing business with everybody. So that's great. Okay, good. All right, good. So that's like the nature of the community is widening the view.
I just want to, because there's some extra stuff coming up for me about, so when you say like, does it really change the world? So what happens then is that my company is called Groundswell. Like there's a groundswell that happens that ripples out when I do a pie giveaway and I'm talking to 300 people who come to get pies. And now there's an ongoing conversation in my community of people about this. There's an awareness that happens. There's a generational pattern that gets stopped potentially from this. There is somebody else may pick up. There is, this is how change happens.
Yeah, totally. As soon as we got into it, right? That's why I had to ask the question, because I couldn't get myself to the source of it. But then this is why I just love, you and I working together. It bounces up, and then it's obvious that, of course, that's how the world changes.
Yeah.
There's no other. I mean, what else are we going to show me? How else the world changes other than people having conversations?
Yeah, exactly.
There's no other pathway to that.
Right.
So I love it. And then really, I think there's an opportunity for the community, for the repurposed community, to have, the environment, the ecosystem in which we can stay true to that we are empowering each other. We don't have to all be, we're not going to be all in the same line: domestic violence, global warming, whatever, right? It doesn't, the thing that matters to you is not the connector. It's that we're together as a community to think through and investigate and explore and provide that kind of leadership, which is the other thing that you and I have been talking about. Then the question became, what are the pillars? Because I could just hear leadership as a pillar there, but say,
Well, yeah. So there's different ways you can think about it. Once there's a premise, being when agents fulfill their difference, the difference they want to make, the world will change. What are the ingredients that make that happen? What are the ingredients that go into agents fulfilling the difference? It could be ingredients, or it could be sequential steps. First, they have to do this, then they have to do this, then they have to do this, or it could be ingredients that all live together in the same.
Yeah, I like ingredients better than steps. I don't. I mean, just as a practice. I mean, obviously, there's steps when you make a pie, or the ingredients. But I like the idea. The metaphor. This is out of Steve Zaffron, but when you bite into a cake. There's eggs, there's baking soda, there's sugar, there's flour in that bite, but you don't know exactly how much of any of it is in that bite. You just know that if you take the right ingredients in the right proportion, you mix them up, it's going to work out. And I like the idea that we're talking about what are the ingredients, and then we can mix them up and see how they turn out. And each agent can adjust the ingredients as, their oven.
And they would be ingredients for, regardless of the social cause, the social change.
Right.
The four, I like to work in fours. So the four ingredients will work for any social cause, like leadership as an example. Leadership works in any. That's right. But you would have to have leadership. You couldn't fulfill the difference you were going to make without leadership. Yeah. So good. So just.
Thank you for tuning in to another episode of the Abundant Life Podcast. Brought to you by Christine & Company and eXp Realty, the global online brokerage powered by top agents and cutting-edge technology. If you liked what you heard, consider subscribing wherever you listen to podcasts. Your hosts have been award-winning brokers Christine Andreasen and Aaron Hendon. For more on them, visit christineandcompany.com.